Hi everybody, welcome to Something to Think About, where I hope to share some ideas with you that will give you something to think about. In this episode, we're going to talk about learning how to learn. I'm your host, Fred. Let's get to it. Let me start by taking you back to the 1980s. When you think about the 1980s, do you think about the great music, fashion trends, classic movies, or if you're around my age, high school? Well, I think about all those things and one of the most influential teachers in my life, Mrs. Sanders, my high school physics teacher. Now, Mrs. Sanders was not a student favorite. She was tough, but she was a brilliant teacher. In this episode, I want to share a few of the key lessons I learned from Mrs. Sanders. The first lesson Mrs. Sanders taught was that we have to learn how to learn. When we're in school, we're learning particular subjects, and more importantly, we're learning about the process of learning. Once we learn how to learn, we can learn anything. Learning is a lifelong journey we should embrace. The key to doing so is to remain curious. Constantly ask yourself questions and challenge yourself to find out the answers. The second lesson Mrs. Sanders taught was sometimes we have to stand on our head to understand physics. She reminded us that the answers to our questions are not always straightforward. Often we need to look at a problem from a different perspective to understand it. The third lesson Mrs. Sanders taught was that we learn by doing. We can study a topic all we want, but actually doing what we learn cements it in our brains. In her class, Mrs. Sanders had us perform experiments to derive physics formulas from the data we collected. She did not give us the formulas. She gave us the opportunity to do the work to find them out on our own. I strongly encourage you to get the most out of whatever you learn by practicing it on a regular basis. To challenge yourself this year, I encourage you to develop a skill development plan. Think about what skills you want to develop and how you'll do so. You can use whatever resources you like. With the internet, the sources of learning are abundant. To wrap things up, I wanted to share that as I was researching this episode, I found out that Mrs. Sanders passed away on January 30th, 2021 at the age of 89. She was such a beloved teacher in Atlanta that the Atlanta Journal-Constitution ran an article about her, citing her many academic accomplishments in meetings with several great people, including Robert Frost, Albert Einstein, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Mrs. Sanders ignited a passion for learning in thousands of students over the course of her 36 years teaching high school physics in Atlanta. I am proud to be one of her students. I hope that by sharing her lessons with you, that you'll think about embracing them and sharing them with others too. Thanks for taking time to watch this video. I hope I gave you something to think about. Take care.